This segment is an introduction video to Cherokee crafts and designed to offer the basic steps in craft making. The following video is presented as a service to various communities, schools, and organizations in hopes of perpetuating Cherokee culture.
OCO, my name is Shanista, and I'm going to tell you about Cornhusk Dolls. Ancient Cherokees were an agricultural society, which meant we were farmers. We lived in villages, and generally we stayed in one place our whole lives. Because we were agricultural, we grew crops. 3 of our main crops were called the Three Sisters. The Three Sisters were corn, beans, and squash. We grew these 3 plants together because they aided each other when they were growing. They helped one another grow. Corn uses a lot of nitrogen, and beans put nitrogen back into the soil. Squash leaves, when they get very large, help keep moisture and nutrients down in the soil. All 3 of these plants are working together in harmony to grow. Because we grew these crops, and we grew a lot of them, we had a lot of corn. We had large families and large villages, and we needed to feed a lot of people. So we grew a lot of corn, beans, and squash. Because we had so much corn, we also had corn husks. After the corn was harvested, it would be shucked, and the corn husks would be pulled off. They would start out green in color, and as they dried, they would turn this kind of tan beige color. Because we had so many corn husks, we wanted a way to use them. And a good way to use them would be to make toys for the children. So we came up with a way to make Cornhusk dolls. So these are the materials that will come in your Cornhusk doll kit. You'll have 5 pieces of yarn. You'll have 1 arm piece, 1 doll head, 2 pieces for your skirts, and 2 pieces for the shawl. You will also need a pair of scissors and a container for water. To start with, you want to take your doll head and you're going to soak it in the water just for a few seconds, not very long. Take it out and shake it off a little bit. Now you're going to go down to the base of the doll head, down where it looks like a little skirt, and you're going to find about where the middle is. You're going to make just a little tear, and you're going to pull that all the way up to the neck. Next, you're going to take the arm piece. This does not have to be wet. I should say you're going to slide that into the little V you've created, and you're going to get it as tight up against the neck as you can. Now you're going to take a piece of your yarn, and you're going to wrap it around right under the arms, right in the armpits, and you're going to tie it together really tight. If you'd like, you can ask a friend to help you hold the yarn while you tie your knots. You're going to make sure it gets really good and tight, that way the arms don't slide out. Now you can take your scissors and trim off the excess. Just be sure to leave a little bit, that way your knots don't come untied. Now you're going to set your doll head aside. Now you're going to take your 2 large pieces for your skirts, and you're going to dunk those in the water just for a few seconds to make them nice and pliable. Shake them out real good. You can lay one of these aside for now. Now you're going to take 1 piece of yarn and lay it on the table horizontally in front of you. Now take 1 piece of corn husk that you'll use for your skirt, and you're going to point the pointy end of the corn husk towards you. Pretend like it's a slice of pizza. You want that pointy end pointed towards you. Now you're going to use your pinky finger to measure. You're going to put the base of your pinky finger where it meets your hand at the very point of your corn husk, and the very tip of your pinky finger is where you want the yarn to be. Now you're going to take your head and arm piece, and you're going to lay it on the corn husk with the head pointed away from you, and you want the yarn to be right below the arms. Now you'll take your other large piece of corn husk and you'll lay it right on top, making sure to match up the points of the large pieces of corn husk. Not the doll head, just the points of the corn husk. Here is where you will probably need a friend to help you. You're going to scrunch together all that corn husk right there at the base and ask your friend to grab those pieces of yarn, and she's going to tie those really, really tight, making sure to catch all of that corn husk. Make 2 or 3 knots just so you can be certain that that corn husk won't fall off. You can turn it over and tie it again just to be sure it's nice and secure. Now you can use your scissors and trim the yarn again. Now you're going to hold your doll up and you're going to make a fist right around her waist and hold her good and tight. And you're going to gently fold down those large pieces of corn husk. Fold down the one in the front, and then the one in the back. And you can even them up a little bit, that way she's nice and covered. And you're going to wrap your fist around her waist and squeeze her real tight. That'll help to get those corn husks to lay flat. So now you'll take your 2 dyed pieces of corn husk, you'll dunk them in the water and shake them off a little bit. You're going to hold them with the points up and you're going to make a little X, but you want your X to be down low. You want the cross to be down low. Now you're going to take that crossed pair of dyed corn husk and you're going to put that little X right on the back of your doll. It doesn't matter which side, either side is fine. Now you're going to hold your doll up and you're going to take those points. It looks like little fairy wings. You're going to take the points of the wings and you're going to bring it down and across to the opposite hip. You're going to take the other one and bring it down and across to the opposite hip. Now you'll take one piece of yarn and you're going to wrap it around where her waist would be. Now this knot does not have to be very tight. This is just forming her waist. And you can ask for a friend to help if you need it. And you do not have to trim this yarn. It can dangle or you can cut it off. We'll have one last step and your girl doll will be finished. So what you're going to do is scrunch up her skirts down at the base. And you're going to take your scissors and you're just going to cut off a nice even line across the skirt. That way your doll can stand up straight so she can dry. If you need to trim it, you can, but your doll should be able to stand. And if you'd like to keep it a girl doll, you're all finished. But if you'd like to turn your doll into a boy, we have 2 more steps. If you'd like to turn your doll into a boy, you're going to go down to the base of the skirt. And just like we did in the beginning, you're going to find the middle. And you're going to make just a little tear. And you're going to tear that up to where his waist would be, to form 2 legs. And you can trim the legs if you want so that they're not too long. Make sure both sides are even so that one leg's not longer than the other. Now you'll take one of your pieces of yarn and you're going to tie it around one of the legs where his knees would be. If you need a friend's help, you can ask or you can try it yourself. And you can make this as tight or as loose as you want. Just make it look how you want it to look. Now you can trim the yarn. And then take your last piece of yarn and tie around the other leg, making sure you get your knees even. Now sometimes the boy dolls will stand up, but most of the time they won't, and that's okay. You can just prop him up somewhere so that he can dry out. But once you've tied those last few pieces of yarn off and trimmed up anything you want to, you're all finished and you've got a little boy Cornhusk doll. Now because Cornhusk is a natural material, you want to make sure it dries out completely. Don't put it in a bag or anything. Make sure it dries, because if you were to leave it wet, it has a chance to get moldy and smelly and gross.
Wado for your time to learn about Cherokee culture and history. Share what you learned today with someone else. For more information, contact Cherokee Nation Education Services Cultural Resource Center at education@cherokee.org or 918-453-5000 and ask for education services.